This week at NASA. Space Shuttle Discovery is now in place for launch on a 13-day mission to the International Space Station. The orbiter, mated to an external tank and twin solid rocket boosters, was rolled out of the Vehicle Assembly Building to Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. Commanding the 7-member crew on STS-128 is Rick Sturckow, who believes that generations from now, people will remember the ISS as an important link in the history of space exploration.
My hope is that they will look back and say, wow, we really learned a lot from building and operating this space station, and we could have never done what we're going to do in the future if we hadn't done this space station program. You know, it was a key stepping stone to the moon and Mars and other planets someday.
Rounding out the 128 crew are pilot Kevin Ford and mission specialists Pat Forrester, Jose Hernandez, Daniel Livas, and Sweden's Christer Fuglesang. First-time flyer Nicole Stott will swap out aboard the ISS with Tim Kopra, who moved into the station on STS-127.
We are actually seeing light from the star itself.
Kepler mission scientists say now that the spacecraft has been calibrated and checked out, the new data it's providing about one previously known exoplanet has them awestruck.
What we're seeing here is data of HAT P7b taken over 10 days only. With Kepler, we will have data taken over hundreds of orbits.
An exoplanet is a body outside of our solar system. Kepler is the first spacecraft designed to survey our region of the Milky Way galaxy in search of exoplanets about the size of Earth that orbit stars like our Sun, on which liquid water and possibly life could exist.
Kepler does indeed have the ability to detect the transit of an Earth-sized planet passing in front of a Sun-type star, producing a very tiny dimming, and now we know for sure that Kepler can actually measure that.
Orbiting the Sun for at least 3.5 years, Kepler will continuously monitor the brightness of more than 100,000 stars in a fixed field of view to detect and gather data about our celestial neighbors.
This exquisite data that we're seeing today is just the tip of the iceberg. We're really looking forward to everything that's going to come with Kepler. We see a kind of world of exoplanet exploration where discoveries will come much more rapidly than they have in the last 10 years.
Based on the early science it's provided, scientists now believe Kepler will offer much more data about habitable nearby exoplanets than they ever would have expected when the spacecraft was launched last May.
All right, here we go.
The Stennis Space Center has turned the final page in its history of rocket engine testing. The last Space Shuttle main engine test was conducted by Stennis engineers 34 years after its first one in 1975. Since the first Space Shuttle launched in 1981, NASA has flown more than 125 missions, all with main engines tested at Stennis, and all of them performing at 100% during flight. NASA officials presented the National Federation of the Blind with 2 Louis Braille bicentennial silver dollars flown on Space Shuttle Atlantis' mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope. The coins were minted in honor of the 200th anniversary of Louis Braille's birthday. They are the first to feature tactile, readable Braille.
It's an honor to be here, and I love the fact that you all have come from all over the country to learn about science and engineering.
The presentation on Capitol Hill capped a 5-day event for 200 blind high school students from across the nation, during which they were encouraged to consider careers in science, technology, engineering, and math.
Each center is focused on doing something different.
41 high school seniors are in the second session of the Virginia Aerospace Science and Technology Scholars, or VASS program, at the Langley Research Center. Modeled after a program at Johnson Space Center in Houston, VASS involves more than 100 students taking an online course during the year for 2 college credits. Those who favorably completed the work were invited to one of the 2 week-long VASS academies offered at Langley.
This is kind of what engineers do. This is what some of the different team members do as part of designing a mission and part of doing this. And so that's part of why, we think VASS is such an important program. So it gives you that opportunity to have that kind of exposure much earlier than say I did.
Once the students complete the rigorous program, which includes robotic and Mars landing architecture projects, they'll receive an additional 2 college credits. The Glenn Research Center recently dedicated a new state-of-the-art meeting facility. Built on the site of the center's historic Guerin House, the new 2,600-square-foot Guerin Management Center offers a flexible gathering space for center personnel while preserving the casual setting of the original dwelling.
It will provide for us a safe, functional, and accessible meeting location for all of our employees to gather for retreats, training, meetings, award ceremonies, and other official functions.
On this construction project, 95% of the scrap that was made from this project was recyclable.
As a certified green building, the new Guerin Center uses about 25% less energy than standard buildings. The original Guerin House was sold to NASA by the Guerin family in 1958 to allow for the expansion of research facilities. Apollo astronaut Al Worden received NASA's Ambassador of Exploration Award for his contributions to the U.S. space program. Worden accepted the award during a ceremony at the Kennedy Space Center's Visitors Complex.
This rock is representative of what we did 30, 40 years ago, and hopefully it'll be an inspiration for all those in the future. And more students and more people are going to see it here than any place in the country.
Worden was command module pilot for Apollo 15. Rounding out the crew was Mission Commander Dave Scott and lunar module pilot Jim Irwin. During Apollo 15, the Michigan native conducted a 38-minute spacewalk. Aside from moonwalks, Worden's EVA remains the farthest from Earth ever conducted. The Ambassador of Exploration Award is given to the first generation of explorers in the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo space programs. Worden's moon rock, encased in lucite, will be on permanent display at the Kennedy Visitors Complex. And that's This Week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, log on to www.nasa.gov.